Alright guys, I am here. Let me move that up a little bit. I have my lace pin down. I have my little windy tree down. And I do have the place where I'm going to put the wording off. I'm still debating on this. I just don't know that maybe if I cut it out, put some fusible behind it. But I also have a little string of these that I could add on that are 3D. So this is it. But the next step I'm doing is I took off my little piece of paper, and I have this material, and you maybe see the shine of it, but it's a wash away, and I wanted to try this to see if it made doing the writing easier on here, and so I could write it out, and that way I can move it, set it where it needs to be. And then I can pin it in place. So I know that I have my work all together. And that'll give me a little room up in these corners to put something kind of pretty up in there. And then this will go right there. But what I'm gonna do is do my stitching, because you have to wet this afterwards. And with the red, it's been washed, so it shouldn't. But I'm going to stitch this, and then I'll attach it. That way I don't have to soak this whole thing in water to remove this. And I'll show you, but once I do the embroidery on here, I will cut as much of this out as I can and then rinse this away. You have to rinse it in warm water. But that's now the brand of this. I bought this. It lasts forever. I have a big huge thing of it. It's actually even bowing. I guess with the heat it maybe tightens through the years, but this is probably 10 years old, so it lasts for a little bit because you're not using much at a time. I use it on my embroidery machine, and right now my embroidery machine's in the shop, and I could go to the sewing machine and just sew this with my sewing machine, but I just like the hand stitching. So this is what I'm going to be doing. I've got all these pins in here. I will baste this down first so I can get rid of all these pins. I will sew. It would be easier to sew it on here, but I really don't want to soak the whole thing. So I'm going to try and see if I can stitch it with just that. I might put a little interfacing on the back just to give it a little more bulk. And then I'm going to cut out a piece of muslin batting, and I will put that on there. So I will be back when this is done. Okay, I'm back. I worked on it. I got a little crazy last night working on it, so it's just about done. It says let the holidays begin. I did use that wash away, and it's still soft after you get it done. It doesn't leave. I think the only thing was this fabric I hadn't washed because I pulled it at the last minute, and I think it bled a little bit into the lettering, so it made it more of a beigey than a thing. But we got the little reindeers. I still have to put on his little red nose and a little star on the top of this, but other than that, it's I'm gonna put the backing on it, and then I'll finish just doing some straight stitching here. I left this, and you can see the back of it, so that this would fold over. So when I put the backing on, this will fold over, and then whatever I'm using, I'm gonna get them set up to do as like a banner, and follow Corinne's lead on that, I think. And so that's it. I did all split stitch all the way around. I did a little up through here. I just did some running stitches, and then I did an invisible stitch around to tack it down. On the lettering, I did all split stitch and then a blanket stitch around here. And on the tree, this is a wool, and so you know how wool is, it really wants to. So I did first one around it with a straight stitch all the way around, and then I went back over it with a blanket stitch just to give it that extra hold. And I'm going to use some brown and go over this for the stem. It'll only be to probably about right there. And the ends I want to leave frayed. So when I get my next piece of material, I'm going to use, hold on, I'll get it so I can show. Okay guys, we're back and I am working on this. Let me see if I can pull you back a little bit. There we go. And so the next thing I'm going to do is, I got all my needles set up except for the one that I needed now. I had just finished while we were off. I finished that and I used this silk that I had gotten from the thrift store the other day. Oh, I have never used silk thread, but not at this texture of it. It's a pretty thick thread, but it just glides right through the fabric. Now what I am going to be using is what I've used for my blanket stitch, for my lettering and all that. This is another one I got from the thrift store. I can't tell you what it is, but I like it. It's a good quality thread. And I think I'm going back to this needle. I thought I had it all set up and I forgot to do this one. Now what I'm going to do is join these pages together so that you won't see the cotton batting. Oh, here was the needle. I'm just going to do 2 wraps. That's plenty so it won't pull through. And tie it off. And what I have done is I have taken this, I have put the back page on here, and I've gotten it all pinned so that it's pretty well matching up all the way around. And now what I'm going to do is just do a running stitch. So it'll hold. I want it to fray. I want the edges to look frayed, but I don't want it to fall apart. And so I'm doing a running stitch. I'm just going to catch that one behind that. Now I think what I'm going to do is go, when I turn this, I'm going to go right, I'm going to leave these open right now, and then I'm going to come and do a stitch going across, so that way this edge will fray on the top also. So I'm just coming around here, doing my running stitch. And this needle that I'm using came from this Dritz package of needles, 25 assorted craft needles. It works good for working through because it has some that are pointed, some that are not pointed, and this one is pointed, and it's gliding right through this material. The eye of it is not, it's long, but it's not wide. So how is everybody doing? This is Saturday morning. May not be when you're watching it, but it is Saturday morning. And it is hot outside. We're supposed to get rain in a little while. For those of you that don't know, I'm from Pensacola, Florida. Beautiful place. If you've never been, come down and visit. It is wonderful down here. We have beautiful beaches, lots of hotels on the, well, a couple of hotels on the beach. They're trying to maintain it, but there's lots of different types of rentals and stuff like that out there in the condos. But it is. Only problem with Florida is if you've got sinus problems, like I do, it is not the place to be, because where it is damp, but you do get mustiness and stuff like that, and not bad, but if you've got allergies to that kind of stuff, then it is. Alright, so when I'm just going to zip around this, and I will post a picture. I've just got the star left to do, and I don't know if I'm going to embroider that on, or if I'm going to find a piece of wool felt and put it on with that. And the specific reason that I chose this fabric was, number one, I found it and it was perfect, is because it does fray pretty well, and I did want to keep the frays. Thank you to all my new subbies. For some reason, and I gotta see if it's a setting, I cannot see who my new subbies are. There's a few of them that pop up, but I don't know if the difference is if you sign on as a, if you joined YouTube, or if you're just watching it as a guest. Maybe that might be the difference. I don't know, but I know it doesn't let me see. It lets me a few names, it lets me see, and I'd love to say hello to y'all, but I don't think it's fair to do it to a few and not to all of them. So hello to everybody anyway. So how many of you guys are doing this? And if so, are you loving it? In the slow stitch, there's no rules, no guidelines. We have a couple of prompts that we go by on here, but after that, it's totally up to you. I mean, you'll see, if you will see the different people that do these, that they are all very much so varied, from kind of modern I think my style is more shabby, folk art, shabby chic. And now all I'm doing is what I call a running stitch. You calls it boho. Hold on. All right, and all I'm doing here is I'm doing kind of a little invisible stitch while I'm going through this lace, because I really don't want it to show, but I want it to hold this part of it together. I'll do just a little tiny little stitch and go kind of big on the back. And what I did was all the way around where the stitching ends is where the cotton batting ends. So I did trim it so that it would fit like that, so that the frayed ends can fray and you won't see the batting. Just a couple of more stitches and pin out of there. One last stitch. I'm gonna knot it right there. And really this will be about the only stitching you see on the back is what's coming through around the edges. And now I'm going to tie a knot. Sink this through the fabric. Pull my knot, which might not go because it's pretty thick, but it still will sink the... And so there we have it. Now here I think I'm going to do a row of stitches. I'll show you. See, and I got you on. That might not be enough, but that's all right. I can restart. Now I'm going to start, which I should have done earlier with the other one, is right in here. I'm in between, and then I'll go through. And I'm just going to do the same thing as a running stitch all the way through this top. And there is my running stitch across there, and what that will do is leave a little if I can find it, it'll leave an opening for a rod or ribbon or whatever I'm going to use to join them all together. And so you'll have that, but you'll still have your slow stitching stitches showing. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm getting, the back is a little shorter right here, but I want to make sure that it catches it where it can. And my next video is going to be on, I've decided how I'm going to do the wreath. But you get the idea here, what's going on, and it's through the back. And so now we'll have it all ready to hang. And this is, it hangs out, will fray more, and I'll trim it up when it finishes fraying. And there we have our first one for the Roxy's Journal of Stitchery, Volume 2, Prompt Reindeers. Oh, and I did put the little red nose on Rudolph. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you're joining along or enjoying just watching us stitch away. I will be doing some straight running stitch or boho stitch, campus stitch, whatever one you want to call it, in these couple of areas because I want it pretty solid. And I will do that with just a regular sewing thread, like the dual duty. So that way it won't be really showing, but it'll still be there. And when we come back on the next video, I will be going through doing the wreath with you, and then after that I'll work on the other reindeer, the green set. Alright, thanks, and have a great day.